I heard the splash first, the unmistakable plop of something heavy hitting the water. When I ran out to my dock with a fishing pole in hand, I found myself staring at a brand-new wrought iron gate gleaming under the sun like a smug monument to absurdity. Behind it, a shiny silver plaque read, "Private HOA access only. Violators will be prosecuted." My dock, my lake, my property, now blocked off like I was a trespasser in my own backyard. And the best part? A security camera pointed right at me, blinking red like a robotic middle finger. That's when I knew something stupidly sinister was afoot. And her name, as I would soon learn, was Lorraine Pratt. Living by the lake had always been a dream. After 27 years designing highway overpasses and drainage systems, I cashed out and moved into a modest A-frame cabin tucked on the edge of Hemlock Lake. My backyard sloped gently into a patch of reeds that opened onto the water. Every morning I walked barefoot to the old wooden dock, thermos in hand, and fished in the mist. I paid off the land in full. No mortgage, no liens, and certainly no HOA, or so I thought. But that morning, instead of casting a line, I stood slack-jawed in front of an unauthorized gate dissecting my access to peace. The fen-black steel bars stretched out in both directions like some dystopian train track. It ran all the way to my neighbor's property and then curved toward the private road leading to the subdivision. Who the hell installs a fence around someone else's lake access without a knock on the door? Later that afternoon, the answer strutted up the gravel path in the form of Lorraine Pratt, HOA president, clipboard clutched like it held the 10 Commandments. She wore a lavender blouse and wedge sandals far too ambitious for gravel, and an expression that could curdle milk. Before I could speak, she smiled a tight-lipped grin and gestured to the gate like she was presenting a grand prize on a game show. "Hello there. We've installed a protective barrier around the lake access," she said, as if announcing a town bake sale. "Strictly for residents within the association. Liability concerns, you understand." I blinked. "I live right there. This is my lake access." Lorraine laughed like I'd said something charming but incorrect. "Well, technically the access strip sits on a parcel now maintained by the Hemlock Shores Homeowners Association. You must have missed the notices. We sent several." She tapped her clipboard. My blood pressure buzzed behind my eyes. "I didn't get a single notice. And how did you even get permission to build this?" "That land isn't part of your HOA." "Oh, but it is now," she said sweetly. "The HOA acquired the lease last fall. It used to be managed by the old bait shop owner. Since he passed, it reverted to open bid. We secured it and redesignated it as common HOA property. The bait shop, a narrow strip of land between my lot and the lake. I'd always assumed it was included in my deed. Apparently not. Lorraine had slithered in and leased it like a hawk snatching a rabbit. "Let me guess," I said tightly. "You didn't tell anyone nearby?" "It was discussed in our October meeting," she chirped, fully above board. "You're welcome to submit a formal appeal, though as a non-member, I'm afraid you won't have voting rights." I was stunned. I wasn't even part of the HOA. I bought my land years before the subdivision crept in. Yet somehow, this neighborhood Napoleon had roped off my lake access and declared it private HOA territory. The next day, I tried to cut through the gate. I brought bolt cutters like a renegade freedom fighter snipping at tyranny. I barely got through one link before Lorraine appeared with a security guard and called the sheriff. To his credit, the deputy looked as confused as I was. But after checking maps, he confirmed that while I owned my cabin and land, the dock area was technically under HOA lease. Lorraine watched like she was sipping a martini at the opera. By week's end, a warning sign went up, "Do not trespass. $10,000 fine." That blinking camera kept watching me. I tried attending an HOA meeting. It felt like stepping into a suburban soap opera. Everyone was either terrified of Lorraine or hypnotized by her control. One guy said, "You're not on the lake list anymore." "What's a lake list?" I asked. He just shrugged. Then came the kicker. Lorraine had the only key to the lock. I sulked for a few days. What could I do? Hire a lawyer and bleed thousands trying to reclaim a strip of land? Dig a tunnel under the fence like a cartoon prisoner? I even considered building a floating dock and launching a kayak invasion. Then I saw it. A for sale sign posted discreetly on the parcel next to the gated strip. The same land Lorraine had leased was part of a divided lot. I called the number. The seller? An elderly woman living in Alaska. She'd inherited the land and forgotten it existed. That night, I sat on my porch sipping coffee and grinning. If Lorraine wanted control so badly, she was about to get it. Just not how she expected. I bought the land, the half with the actual gate posts buried in it, for less than a new fishing boat. She'd assumed it was all one parcel. It wasn't. Now I own the strip the gate sat on. I waited a week before acting. Long enough for the gate to feel permanent. The lake's annual HOA summer brunch was set to take place right on the other side of my old dock. Lorraine was ready to gloat. That morning, I walked down to the gate with a new lock. I clicked it into place and posted a fresh sign. Private property. Access by owner permission only. As HOA members showed up in pastels and sun hats, Lorraine marched to the gate. She reached for her key. It didn't fit. She jiggled, twisted, turned red. She finally announced there had been a technical issue, but it would be resolved soon. I sipped lemonade and waited for her to look up. When she did, I waved and tossed her a copy of the deed. She read it, jaw working like a broken hinge. This must be a mistake. You can't just buy community property. You're right, I said. That's why I didn't. I bought my property. The one your gate is standing on. She stared, then scanned the highlighted map. Her face twisted. She was standing on land that wasn't HOA controlled anymore. But we installed this gate. The HOA funded it. I own the land, which means it's mine. A younger board member, Stephanie, raised an eyebrow and crossed her arms, clearly enjoying the show. Lorraine stormed off, phone glued to her ear. The next day, I filed a notice with the county clerk. Any unauthorized alterations would be trespassing. I sent copies to the HOA, the sheriff, and Lorraine's lawyer. Then I installed a floodlight and a motion sensor. It didn't record. It just lit up when someone approached. Just enough to remind them I was watching. Lorraine fired back with letters about community morale and cooperative usage. I sent back a copy of the deed and a post-it, "Cooperate this." Stephanie visited soon after. We walked the line. She shook her head. Karen never ran this through proper channels. She told the board it was uncontested. She smirked. She's going to blow a gasket when she finds out she spent HOA funds fencing land we don't own. Over the next weeks, the HOA softened. Rumors of audits swirled. One member resigned. Lorraine filed a complaint with zoning that backfired. The inspector told her plainly she had no authority over my parcel. Then she tried to change the lock again. The locksmith called me. I walked down with cookies and proof of ownership. He laughed, took a cookie, and left. That night, I sat behind the gate with a cooler and a book. Some residents waved. One brought a six-pack. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about principle. By July, the gate became a symbol. For me, boundaries and justice. For Lorraine, her own downfall. She tried new tricks. Buoys in the lake. Newsletters about new boat landing zones. But I added a new sign, private property. Parcel 2483. No trespassing. When I applied to have the land designated an eco-habitat, it was approved in 2 weeks. No events. No gatherings. Not without permits. The HOA freaked out. Stephanie called it poetic. Lorraine filed another vote to override it. It failed. The board suspended her. She resigned. Neighbors brought pies. One painted a sign, local legend. Gatekeeper of Hemlock. The gate stayed. But I left it open. A test of character. Most people asked before crossing. One day a teen named Mason asked for permission to fish. I gave him a laminated slip. He brought his sister. She caught her first bluegill in 10 minutes. Then, as the sun dipped, a silver sedan pulled up. A woman stepped out, scarf, sunglasses, flats too white for dirt paths. She stood at the gate. It was Lorraine. She didn't speak. She just looked. Then she asked, "Still got the key?" I raised my thermos. "Still don't need to use it." She nodded and left. The lake shimmered. The air cooled. I sat by the water smiling. What began with a locked gate ended with an open one. Because sometimes the best key isn't made of metal. It's made of respect.